And 5, 4, 3, 2.
I look like I'm crying.
What up, Seatronauts? Welcome back to another episode of More Than Music. We are very excited to bring you us for the first time on the podcast. All of us are finally together for the first time in a year and a half. Kenny, Benny, myself, Sky, Mikey, Magic, and Carl. Very excited to bring you just a couple things of what we've been doing for the last year and a half. We finally are together and able to get some music in today. We have some updates for you on shows and kind of our goings on over the last 18 months or so. The last time we played a show was March 1st, 2020. Ooh, nice. So not this previous March 1st, the one before that. So it's been quite a while. We finally just knocked off the rust. We had a great time jamming, and we wanted to take this time to jump in and do an episode with everybody here that we're finally all together. Before we do that, I want to reflect a little bit back on the previous month of our guests. Eddie Kopp of Sugar Shack. We had Aaron and Shelly Crowbar of the Montana Hemp Expo. We had Dubist, our great friends from previously East Coast, now in San Diego, and Samira Lobby as well, our girl from right here in Eugene. So if you haven't checked out those episodes yet, you can obviously hear them anywhere podcasts are found, Apple Music, Spotify, everywhere else. And also, of course, you can find our YouTube channel for the video versions.
Welcome to the More Than Music podcast, hosted by us, Soul Seed. We'll be sharing tour stories, lyric breakdowns, and insights into our approach to music, the art, as well as the business. We'll also be interviewing some of the friends and family we've made throughout the years in the spirit of sharing their many marvelous trials and triumphs. So get comfortable and join us as we explore more than music.
Hope you're chilling and enjoying yourself, and we are finally together again. And boys, it's been a long
Feels
year
good.
and a half.
Feels damn good, fellas.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, you mentioned our last show was March 1st. What?
March 8th, right?
What was our last
Was
show?
that Bellingham?
No.
March 8th, Seattle.
Whoa.
March 8th in Seattle.
It was Seattle, then
It
Bellingham.
was sold out.
Yeah, okay, we did Bellingham with
Rebel Soul Jazz.
Yep.
Rebel Soul.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll trickle back a little bit. March.
That venue doesn't exist anymore. That
No.
goes out.
Unfortunately,
A lot of venues.
A lot of
closed
music
this
venues don't
year.
exist.
Yeah.
I will trickle back a little bit. March 1st was the last show we had locally here in Eugene.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yep,
Cool.
that was it.
Dig
That was
it.
at World Pies. We had a great show
Yeah.
March 1st, but
Yeah.
did have a couple after that.
Yeah, I remember like playing Seattle. That was the beginning of everything, where we were
Well,
unsure
yeah,
where things were going
to
to be
tangent
heading.
with that, I remember getting food. Like, COVID had been announced. Seattle was kind of an epicenter of it happening and coming to us in the States. And I went and got food with Julie at like a quinoa fresh salad place. And the guy was like, "Oh, I'm surprised the show's not canceled." Like, and that was the first moment where I was like, "This is like more
yeah, this is a
serious
thing.
than I really realized."
Meanwhile,
And
it looked
then
like a
next
sold-out
week,
show in
we
Seattle.
got home and like the 12th was quarantine.
Yeah.
So it was like we got home and there was like
We were supposed to
a
play
week
Florence
later.
next week. And,
Yep.
yeah.
I got home that next week. All of my LCC classes were canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it like hit. It was a reality then. And,
Yeah.
it was
Well,
like
then
I
we-
heard about it, and then it was like, whoa, okay, what's
Yeah.
quarantine?
Well, I think we all had that experience with like the Ebola outbreak, and I was like super paranoid about it, and I was like, oh no, Ebola's gonna be a thing, and then it was nothing. So I remember feeling like when this was coming up, like, oh, I remember I was super scared about that.
Swine flu
This
was
is probably
another
gonna be
one.
the same thing. It's not gonna be a big deal.
Wearing a mask was kind of a joke at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then it became
Yeah.
very, very real.
Yeah, and it was tough too because Mikey has been in Tacoma, this for this
Washington,
entire
yeah.
time. So, our ability to work on things during this relative downtime that we had, when you compare it to how busy our schedules were
Yeah,
for
leading
the
up to
years
that.
leading up to that, our touring schedule, it was tough. It was tough. So we all just kind of did our own thing.
Totally different. Yeah, we all had to make our way financially. Musically, I think has been different for each one of us. How much or how little we play. But so it feels really good. Thank you for making the trip down. It's awesome to all just like be in the same room, talk things out, hang out, vibe down, and play some tunes and be like, do we remember how to do this?
Right. It's
We
been
were
nice.
we were unloading our gear, trying to get set up. Yeah, it felt good.
We're good. We're
Getting
good.
set up in the room, like, wait, how does this? What
How
is this?
does
Going
Square peg round
Dude,
hole.
I will be honest and say that for the first probably 6 months of quarantine, I didn't even pick up my instrument. It was that.
I think that
Were
was
you playing guitar at that time? Because you said you played a lot of acoustic in this last
I
time.
started to, yeah.
Okay.
But like
So
there was a period
of time
there
where you just
where
gave it a break.
it was a full on. It had been 10 years.
Yeah.
We were grinding so hard for 10 years, and then, everyone experiences how that changes your relationship to music, right? And when you make it your business, when you make it the way that you make a living, and you involve money in it, and it always gets weird, but I just needed a break. And then I remember that summer, it was so refreshing because that was the first summer I've been in, most of us been in Eugene 10, 11 years now. And that was the first summer that I could ground down and go to the cool swim spots in Eugene and start my first garden. And so it was just almost like the novelty of all these new things that I could do now that I wasn't going away from the home for 3-4 days at a time every weekend. Yeah. And it was just a game changer, and it really just kind of like shifted my whole perspective. So, after that, though, I started picking up acoustic guitar again because I was originally a guitar player before a bass player. And that was really nice, too, to like rediscover my love for guitar and playing music for me. Just picking up the guitar and not to practice, not to do something band or business related, but just to play guitar because I wanted to play guitar. There was such a wild shift for me to experience. So, that was
But you got a lot accomplished. You had a really nice garden. I remember myself, all the projects that I wanted to get done. Oh, I have all this time now. Yeah, they're still. It turns out I'm really good at doing nothing.
Hey, you've probably been playing the most music out of any of us.
I've been learning a new instrument. I've been learning to play trap set, which is new to me. I've been playing
and once or twice a week,
life.
like with other musicians, like playing. So that's
with some of the French musicians in town, except for this group. I discovered was like my heart and soul. I hadn't realized how important playing with Soul Seed was to me until it was gone. And then I realized that I needed to, figure out how to do some other thing with my life. I had left so many other things aside so that I could devote so much of my life to Soul Seed. And then now I was like, what do I do?
I think it's I've heard that from a lot of people that when we came into this, I think there was a lot of kind of confusion and fear and just like nobody knew what was going on, period, for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever. And then we all kind of settled in and we're kind of like, okay, this is happening. This is real. We're no longer in school. We're no longer working. We're working from home. Kids are at home. For those of us that have families, like it changed everything. Music as we know it, entertainment, our lives, completely shut down, literally stopped. I spent, we'll call it mid-March, and we'll say April is when it really became a reality that like Soul Seed's not doing much anytime soon. And I kept, for people who don't know, we book shows for the most part about 6, 8, 9 months in advance, ideally, just to give us time and set the schedule and routing and things. And so we were booked in April. We're booked out through August, September, October. So I remember spending April, May, June, July, just one by one canceling shows and trying to move shows, trying to say, okay, we're in Eugene in say like June. We'll do that in September. Let's just move it to September. We'll be good by then. And we moved it to September. No problem. September comes. Nope. Okay, well, let's move it to like next February. Okay, cool. Well, next February comes. Okay, maybe we're just not going to do that show. And we had, literally, we had 50, 60, 80 shows like we always do that I just one by one started postponing, hoping for the best, and then eventually canceling. And then a year and a half goes by, and again, we haven't played a show since early March. And we are going to be releasing some dates. We won't do it now for you, but stay tuned. We do have some dates late summer and fall to release for you all coming up soon. But spoiler alert, they're not coming up until the end of summer. So we still have a few months that we haven't done it. So by the time we play a show, it's going to be 2 years.
And they're farther fewer between.
It's just absolutely wild how everything just went upside down. But Carl, to your point, I heard so many people, myself included, so many people went into this like, wow, okay, we're 3 months in, like we know we're going to be here for a while. Okay, I'm going to eat better, start working out, spend more time with my family, finish these projects, clean the garage, start the garden, start a podcast, do blah blah blah, and everybody got something done, but not as much as we thought. And it's almost funny. I've been seeing these memes going around now. That was like a year ago. What you thought was like, oh, I got all this time, I'm going to do all these projects and things. And then like a year later, like, shit, I haven't done anything. You know? And for us, and me personally, and I think for the band, it has been nice now looking back on all this time. I personally, and I think the band overall, did need time off.
It was like a forced break.
It was a forced break. And
Yeah.
obviously, a year and a half I think is extensive. We didn't necessarily need or want that much time. But we have been going as hard as, a band at our size can go for 10 years. And we would have never slowed down, which I think was appropriate for us. We would have never taken the time necessary to slow down, to gather the perspective and regroup and everything if this didn't happen.
Yeah.
We would have just been on the road because it's what we do.
Yeah, just keep grinding.
And, it's hard to say, like, if this ever happened, where would we be and all these other things, obviously. But for me, it's just having the perspective of, like, it was unfortunate, but... Again, after the jam today and getting the juices flowing, we're all like super buzzing again.
We're hungry.
Like we're hungry.
Yeah.
We're hungry, and that's a refreshing feeling for me.
Well, that's what makes it hit so much harder, right? Is it's like, especially I think for most of us, Soul Seed was our first. For most of us, I know like Magic Mikey and Benny and myself, like our first like real band that like we created, and so. For that to be happening for 10 years, it becomes such a big part of your identity. And then when it's like swept out from under you, you're like floating in this existence. Like, who am I? What am I without like this thing that I do every single day that like I wake up in the morning and I know exactly like what I'm going to put my energy into. And then when that's totally like swept out from under you, you're all of a sudden like, and that's where all those things like, oh, well, I have the time to do this. But like getting the motivation to do that within like the existential dread of everything happening around you makes it like really difficult. Like for myself, I didn't pick up the guitar for like months and months when it happened because it was like this self-defeating cycle of who am I, and then I'm not going to play my guitar because I'm going through this like funk, and then like being mad at myself for not playing guitar for going through the funk, and then it's just like this like snowball effect. It's like wild to then look back at it and kind of be like what the fuck was I doing? I should have been business as usual. Yeah, man, it's absolutely wild. Like it's crazy to kind of almost be on the. I still don't feel like I'm on the other side of it, but like it's there.
Well, because it's like things aren't gonna ever go back to the way they were before, right? It's like it's we're diving into something new, and having that space to kind of redefine ourselves, redefine music's place in our lives, and like one thing that has been such an interesting thing to grapple with is that kind of pool between, like Benny, like you said, like really enjoying having time to just like do whatever and
focus on yourself or your relationship or whatever.
And I'm such like a hermit. Like I could do that forever, but at the same time, like there's so much lost, right? like not spending time with people that are important to me.
Yeah, we would miss you.
Yeah, I miss you too. Yeah, so
we have missed you. It's been a year and a half.
Exactly,
man.
Yesterday was the first day that we were all in the same room together for over a year. After probably seeing each other almost every day
for a decade,
for a long time.
Well, we basically live in a bus. I mean, we're this close, literally, for 10 years, and then we're just like not seeing anybody. And we do have, the whole world lives on Zoom and conference call settings and stuff these days. But we had weekly, monthly meetings to keep in touch and stuff. So we've been in touch, but we haven't been in person, and that's obviously an extremely different energy, to bring us all back together again.
I did get to see Magic and Kenny though earlier for the first time in a long time. Side note: I was the officiant for Kenny's parents' vow renewal, and so that was a super special moment that I could be a part of.
Wholesome AF, dude. That was amazing.
It was pretty wholesome.
You did such
damn near cry.
You did a great job. You did a great job.
And Ann and Ken, I mean, like, talk about two of the OG parents that were part of our inception.
Yeah,
I mean,
band parents for sure.
And band parents with the utmost unconditional support from the beginning. All of our parents have been so incredible in that way. But
Anna and Ken hooked us up with our first recording.
Studio.
First recording.
Yeah.
Where Soul Seed was born.
Our free album you can download on our website.
Yeah.
www.soulseedmusic.com.
Man, that's a throwback. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is a trip how like you play music because you love it. Then we're like making more money than we expected playing shows, and we're like, well, we could do
Let's
this.
keep doing it.
Let's do this as
Yeah.
a career. We did it as a career. Money gets involved, things get kind of muddy, and then it's like this forced break has really like that's why I play drums. That's like why I love.
It became a
the
business
instrument.
and changed.
Yeah, like love my friends. That's like
Yeah.
why we do it. Like, oh man, like writing a song, like how that feels. Like so yeah, jamming. Because this practice, to be fully honest, has been like jamming and like we played some old
reconnecting
songs and stuff, but it was very much like, what does this feel like? Like we haven't done it in that long and haven't done it with that innocence in that long.
Yeah.
The way we used to do it.
Yeah.
We just jam and maybe try to record it, then something magical would happen when we would all be just
Let's
jamming.
isolate that
Yeah.
feeling and write lyrics to that.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, it's been really refreshing, and it has been a forced break, but I think it's been good for perspective and,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
step back to look at it from like outside of yourself. You're always in your head and you're in the moment and just like show, bus,
Yeah.
and then it's like step away from that and
Yeah. I think with so many things in life, like it's easy to fall into autopilot mode when you're doing it all the time, and having to step away from it, you have to like relearn how to do things, and then you're putting yourself into it more rather than just like the kind of stuff that you just fall into. It's like you're doing something so often, so regularly that you without even knowing it, without even choosing to do it, you just like you find yourself in autopilot mode. I find myself doing freestyles about the same topics, and then having that time, it's like so much has happened in all of our lives, and
We've all grown as
It's been a
as
blessing. It's been a blessing in disguise.
yeah.
it really has.
very disguised.
So many,
Yeah.
there's so many different realities that people have experienced,
Yeah.
obviously, in the past year and a half. Like, acknowledging that, but like for us and for myself, it was an absolute blessing
Yeah.
because I had health issues that I needed to address that manifested as soon as we stopped touring.
Yeah.
It was as if my body
But
knew.
it's time to rest. It's
Okay,
like,
bro, it's time to
Yeah, I've
rest.
been putting this stuff off for
Yeah.
10 years.
You've been in survival mode
Yeah,
on tour
it's
life, like for a decade, and now it's time to heal. And that's what I've been going through. And among other things, identity crisis. Who am I?
Relationship issues.
Who is Benny?
am I?
Who is Benny Pisano without Soul Seed?
Yeah.
I had a hard time answering that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so then now it's time to pursue those other things, find my other medicine in this world that, music will always be there. Soul Seed will always be here.
Yeah.
But there's other things to it too.
Yeah, and I think that's what like it enriches our music, it enriches like our project to, find ourselves in other places and to like, understand who we are, to actualize and then bring that all together and have a fresh approach to music. I think that like that's, so many bands I listen to, it's like their first album is my favorite album. And I think a lot of that is because you come into that first album and you're just living your life, right? Like you're working,
raw.
And again, you're super
fresh.
hungry.
You're hungry,
Like you
yeah.
want it so bad.
and your
yeah.
experience is outside of music. And then like if you become a successful band, all of a sudden your life is music. Or, you're on the road, you're doing this. You don't have the same experiences that you can pull into it. And I think that's what happens so often is you see like there's that initial spark, that initial originality, that initial like eclectic experience that gets coalesced into a song or into songs, and then when you're not having those fresh experiences, you're not having that to pour into it, it's
When something used to be the escape, and then what was once the escape
Yeah.
becomes like your norm,
yeah
becomes like a totally
And
different
like when you're
experience.
first time you write about these things that are super relatable to the common person, then it's like when you're touring all the time and doing music professionally, I notice you'll start hearing in bands like writing about wanting to be home
Yeah.
or writing about
Wanting
being
to
on the
be
road.
home.
So it's
narrative switches.
yeah, and it's less relatable to like your common, unless you're another musician sometimes. So not to pigeonhole or overgeneralize, but it's a trip how just having human experiences and writing about those is sometimes the most like relatable and
Yeah.
heartfelt thing.
I totally agree.
Yeah, because I mean that's what music. That's the roots of music, right? Like the roots of music is not some person standing on a stage. It's like a group of people
Storytelling.
sitting around, telling stories, sitting around a campfire, sharing their souls and sharing their experiences with each other. So it's good to like bring it back to that. And yeah, it is such a hard thing to grapple with, where I feel guilt sometimes, that for me personally, and it sounds like for a lot of us, this last year has had its hardships, but it's also been a really big blessing. But I also know that there's so many people who that's not the case for, who it was not a blessing at all. It was, and so that's hard, it's hard to sit with that. But I think it's okay to be thankful for what you have had, and also be aware of what other people have had to go through.
It seems like it's been a good time for everyone here to get more intimately involved with their partners. Okay? And one thing, everybody here has gotten more intimately involved with their partners. Yeah. That's a good thing that's come from
Well,
that.
we always said we're like a 5-way marriage, so it's like, we have so many sacrifices and
we got
compromises.
with our other partners.
our mistresses.
So long time in the blood.
The ones that always got left behind.
The ones that
JK
are
ladies,
the unsung heroes who support us when we're like on the road and stuff, now get to live the life of having a partner there.
And shout out to all of our partners that have equally been some of the most incredibly supportive and loving and just enthusiastic about everything that we've been doing, and the late nights and the long road trips and the long weeks away and the high highs and the low lows,
And some of them like to travel and want to travel and have the ability to travel with the band, and some of them don't. And so there's always that kind of shifting dynamic of who's on the road, who's not on the road, and it's always been a blessing to have them along. And then of course when our parents show up on occasion a couple times a year is like this extra special opportunity for us as well. And Carl, it's a great point. I kind of want to focus a little bit and just maybe go around robin here, and I'll kick it off, I guess. But just maybe share either relationship stuff if you want to share that, or just kind of in general, like one thing outside of music, has nothing to do with music, that this time, whether wanted or foreseen or not, has given you to venture into. If it's a new hobby, it's a new passion, something that used to be your hobby before Soulseed took over our lives for a decade, and you're like, oh yeah, I liked that 10 years ago. I'm going to try it again because I've got some more time. So I'd like to kind of share some of those stories. And I got two parts of that. So I'll start with my girls, Amber and Emily, and they've been on this ride the entire time for 10 plus years, and it's just been wild. And getting through high school with and it's not homeschooling is specific. This was like, you can't go to school, stay home schooling, which is different. And I'm just so blessed, and shouts out to Emily, just an incredible, strong, beautiful young lady, getting through it on her own and crushing. And humble brag, crushing in school and doing her thing, because it's just been so difficult to see everybody struggling, and the kids not having their social networks and in person, and it's been very challenging for youth as well. And I feel like people our age aren't necessarily always reflecting on that, especially if you don't have kids. It's just something you don't notice. And so it's been very impressive to see her and her friends group get through it, and Amber crushing as well. And
it's a hard time to be a high school kid.
It's been really tough. So one thing I have enjoyed is having more time to dedicate to the family dynamic, which is so hard when we're on the road. I haven't, for any new listeners or old listeners, for new listeners that may not even be aware, I was on the road full time for 8 years, and I stepped off stage full time in 2018 for family reasons.
I've never seen that bearded guy on stage.
Yeah, right.
What's he doing here? What's he doing here?
Yeah, and so I lived the life for long, and actually I did it 3 years prior to Soulseed as well. So did it, but I've been home for the last couple of years. But it's different. This has been a different thing. And being home and focusing on the family dynamic has been less about like my stuff and my needs, and it's been an opportunity to return the favor from the girls who have been like by my side from day one, and like, all right, girls, I'm leaving for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And Amber's been just the best and so supportive always of like, all right, babe, like, go get it. Like, good luck. And I support you and fucking crush. And Emily's been just like, all right, see you in 2 months. Like, that's weird, but do your thing.
Yeah, right. Especially for a kid.
It's amazing. It's like, okay, and that just was our life for a decade. And now I've been home all the time. It's like, oh, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not actually leaving. I'm home constantly. So it's been an opportunity for me to return the favor make sure chores are done around the house, make sure bills are paid, make sure, things you take for granted and just happen in everyday life are just dealt with, so that when they come home from work, when they come home from school, they can just we can just be a family versus having odds and ends stuff happening all the time.
Yeah.
It's and I never thought about that once until this all went down, and I'm like, man, it's been a nice. Everybody has their thing that we do well, and we contribute to that. So when the family dynamic, that's been my focus. On the other side of it, for people that don't know, I'm a huge sports nerd on the side of Soul Seed as well, and I run a couple of shows in sports as well, and it's always been a passion, music and sports my entire life, and I have been able to spend dedicated time to sports because I haven't had music.
Get to a bar early. So
Exactly. Yeah. we don't have to have an off day on a Sunday so that I can find something to do for 9 hours.
Well, you guys just drop me off at a random bar in a random state, 5 hours, and
I'll catch a cab. I'll meet you in the next couple states. I'll be fine. So that's been a lot of fun, and I've dedicated that, and I've had such a blast dedicating so much energy into not music because I've done that so hard for 10 years. So family has been a huge opportunity, and the sports stuff as well. So I've really enjoyed being able to dedicate so much time to both of those and not feeling guilty that I'm taking away from music, because that's kind of where it fell before this. Mm-hmm. And when I'm on stage in some random city in some random state around the country, I don't feel guilty that I'm not home. It's been I'm home and I'm doing this, and it's just been so refreshing. So it's filled the void after a couple months of this, we've all mentioned it, this what am I doing? Mm-hmm. I settled in, and I've been honed in for 6-8 months, and I feel back on track and rocking.
Yeah.
You're a great dad, Sky. No one ever takes that for granted.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're a good band dad too.
Yeah. Papa Guasco.
Yes.
I've got a lot of kids. I have a lot of kids.
I got a lot of kids. What can I say?
What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? So, who else would like to share what you've been doing not involved with music recently?
Yeah, I mean, it's been so nice to have time to spend with my partner. Figured out that we could probably be the first couple to go to Mars and totally rock it.
Yeah, dude.
She's a teacher, and as you guys know, for all of 2020 and a good portion of 2021, she was teaching from home. And so, both
shouts
of us,
out all the teachers.
Yeah,
from
teach
home.
Spanish.
Go teachers. Yeah, and so she was home all day, and it was awesome. We just got so much time to spend together. We got our little dog Mo, and definitely having him was a huge emotional bedrock for this whole last couple of years. Just something a creature to care about that loves unconditionally, and that's been so beautiful. And I've been able to play music with Heidi, which has been awesome. That was hard, not having, it's one thing to just jam acoustic. It's another thing to play with other people. And so her and I got to dive into that. And she's she's so talented. Her voice is so beautiful, and I feel privileged to be able to hear it and jam and stuff. So that was super
Record it. I've never heard it.
I'll have to. We actually recorded a Christmas album.
Oh,
yes.
Maybe
breaking news, folks. Breaking news.
Who tops a Christmas album as their debut album?
We may or may not have.
I like
They're
that.
starting from the end.
Nice, yeah. Normally that's when
that's
the
like
band's
when
on
you're
the tank. And
Yeah,
we're
that's
we're
like
gonna
the
throw
last
this one out there.
Yeah.
So
It was really just for our moms, but
it's Mariah Carey, NSYNC, Mike and Heidi.
Yeah.
Just want to get him in line here. Okay.
Exactly.
Kenny G in there
Awesome.
too.
And
Awesome.
cooking. I've been loving cooking. That is something that's always been so important to me in my life. And, different stages, it's been more or less accessible for various reasons. And so, that's been, yesterday coming down here was the first time that I've eaten food that, Heidi or I didn't cook in literally since March of 2020.
that's
We've
wild,
been,
man.
cooking our own food. So that's been cool. So I've been super thankful for that. And then besides that, getting to connect with my brother and friends and playing a lot of D&D. I've been playing a whole bunch of D&D.
Get those crits.
And I love that.
to
That's
game.
funny.
Dude.
Yeah.
Great time to game.
Because it's in high school I loved doing improv and drama and stuff like that, and it's right along those same lines. It's a cool, it's cool to explore your imagination, and it's been good. I've been very thankful to have that you know, like connection and social aspect, because otherwise I probably would have just shriveled into like a pot smoking video game playing husk of myself.
A shell of my former self.
And like, you know, online, there are online ways to make playing role-playing games like that super doable.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
You know?
actually awesome. Like
Yeah.
some
Amazing
of the tabletop
programs.
simulator and stuff,
Yeah.
where it's like you have pieces, and it's funny watching people like move their piece, but you don't see them doing it, so it's like
Yeah.
almost even more real and imaginative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Love
it's
me
fun.
some D&D.
And besides that, I've just been learning like as much as I can, just, you know, watching random videos and learning a lot about language. I love
So you
language.
do web development, yeah? So you've
Yeah.
been doing a lot of coding.
Yeah, I got to
and
do a
stuff.
couple of those. I actually check out the 101 Things to Do Western Oregon site that I just
Boom.
Good
Shout out
plug,
to
good
Bobby.
plug.
And yeah, I got to make the website for like the Montana State Hemp Fest, and so that's been really cool. I've been, you know, there's so many things that like I am able to do through music, right? Like most of the sites I've developed have been for people that we met through music. So yeah,
It's a network.
it's been a good year to kind of like focus on those different things, focus on relationships, focus on, you know, expanding the hobbies that I want to expand, and
So you actually have been progressing.
Mikey's going up.
Yeah.
Mikey's going up.
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I'm blessed to be able to do that. You
Mikey's
know?
why you
always
go
learning. I
first.
mean, even on the road, you're
Yeah,
like
man.
learning.
I like learning.
Yeah,
Learning's
you
fun.
like problem
It's
solving.
good to learn.
That's awesome.
Best.
I guess we'll just
Yeah.
go around.
Yeah.
Go around the horn. Yeah, definitely partner life. Julie is incredible. Her kids are awesome. They're doing great in school. Distance learning was not easy, I'm sure, for pretty much most kids. And high school is a really challenging time in development in general. But they're crushing it. They're doing really great. And she's amazing. Me and her have not quarantined like most did, in the sense that we worked the whole time. I work for 10-hour days cooking, and I never stopped.
You're essential AF, dude.
Yeah, like she was working really hard, and then was able to kind of stop and do some of the unemployment thing and be with the kids and the animals. But she picked back up work, and yeah, I've been just cooking, which I've learned a lot about, and you know, gotten better knife skills and just repetition, right? Most of the recipes I have memorized at Capella Market here in Eugene. So I get up, which has never been my schedule, and Solzy obviously, like we
Yeah.
often
We
work
go to
together
bed at
till
5
2.
and-
Yeah.
I usually
Flip
would be
the
up
AM
until
for the
2.
PM, and,
Yeah,
yeah.
now it's like 11 o'clock's bedtime. I wake up at 5 and be at work at 6, have a huge breakfast done by 8 for a bunch of strangers, and you know, cook from there on. I make like 10 dishes a day that are, you know, it's production cooking, so it's huge portions, and so I've learned a lot about that, you know, which will be handy when Solcy goes back on the road, because I'm usually cooking
Yeah.
a camping meal.
Oh,
and
parking
stuff.
lot pasta. We're gonna go beyond parking lot pasta. Now we're gonna go into like different
I definitely
realms.
have
I
some
like
new
it.
skills,
Let's get some parking lot lasagna.
Yeah, I'll make you all like falafels from
Hey.
scratch.
Forest falafel.
Yeah.
All
Nice.
sorts of stuff. So yeah, no, that's been huge. Just working and focused on cooking for the family too, which feels really good. You know, you cook all day, but it's different when you get to cook for your loved ones and come home and be creative again. And animals, like Julie's got, you know, dogs and cats, and we have a turtle, and we got African dwarf frogs and a chinchilla, and we feed all the birds in the neighborhood, and that's actually really dear to my heart. That's been something that I've grown through a lot. And gardening, we've definitely, like, both summers had a huge garden. I'll have to show you guys pictures, because we've made a couple like earth walls. She built like an earth fence.
That's awesome.
So now it's like we have, you know, like 100 starts of corn probably by the end of when
wow.
you really count them, and squash and blueberry and raspberries, and like it's a small property, but we filled it with
That's
everything.
awesome.
Yo,
That's the
bro,
way to
you-
do it,
If
man.
you need to offload any of that corn
Yeah,
at
for real.
any time.
Bro, we got a place for all of it, man. Yeah, like growing like purple jalapenos and like some dude, just like random
They
stuff,
make
but it
those?
feels awesome. Yeah, it's cool.
That's wild.
And
Female
then
jalapenos.
and video games and entertainment and stuff.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I've been playing with her son a lot, and yeah, just living life to the best while also grinding and trying to save. But you know, it's just that's
Keeping
how
the
the world
people fed
goes.
and-
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, they appreciate it.
Feed the
man.
people.
A lot of people are needing other people to help them out, and you have been literally on the
one of the people.
There was a
working
few
for a long time, man.
Thank you. Yeah, no, there's actually a few times where it got hairy. Like people were stressed out. It was palpable. Like you could tell that people didn't know what was happening, and like it is rewarding to be able to supply that and make it. Like I've always been very intent on like making it from the heart and like with integrity and letting the ingredients speak for themselves, and it's alchemy in real life. Like it is food, color, like smell, taste. It's like fun to play with and present it. And
we need to get you like a wizard hat.
That would be cool. I have to wear a hat. That would be sweet. Yeah, that would be sweet. That would be sweet. I'm down. I'll hit you up for that. Yeah, thank you guys, and shout out to the partners because it is huge. Like even for psychological well-being, like we all talked about, like self-identity and kind of stepping back and seeing what that means and who you are. It's nice to have a grounded partner to go through it together because we're all dealing with it. It's not just us with Soul Seed. Everybody was very spread thin in this year and had to learn about themselves. So
speaking of that, like my heart goes out to people who have endured these last 2 years solo. Like
I think about people in like a studio apartment that don't have a good friend group
in a city where you don't have a yard to lay in or something.
That's
basically quarantined to your apartment on
the
the 3rd floor.
I can't even.
Or
imagine
people
how
where like
difficult that's
home
been.
was not a safe place. Like that's a scary thought for people where it's like now it's like you don't have anywhere to go, but like home's not where you want to be.
Yeah.
So
it's been a huge year of realizing how privileged I am, like to be in this position. Where I've been able to learn and stuff like that. Not everybody's in that position, and that's been a hard realization and a very obvious realization, with all this stuff going on. Yeah.
We are fortunate here in Eugene. We have the space, we have the sun, we have
forests, we have rivers.
Yeah, we have places to go, and we can go like
Fresh
even where my partner and I live in the university area. We can go out and walk around. We've been able to go out and walk around this whole time and not be like within 6 or 8 feet.
You're not in Tokyo or San Francisco where it's like
so,
filled with people.
Quarantine for us has been very much like that, where we just get on with our lives and do what's normal. And like I said, for me, I'm pretty good at doing nothing. I've been, you guys are all getting all these things accomplished. I learned to play drums.
I was gonna say,
that's
awesome.
Hey, man,
That's awesome.
I've been playing with the same group of guys, and they're amazing folks, and they let me. They tolerate my learning process, which is
well, when you're a good learner, you record yourself, you take it seriously, you want to do better. I mean, you're not just fucking off. Like you really do want to.
I've always said, Carl, you're one of the most driven members of this entire crew.
Agree. I totally agree.
I back that up.
Yeah, well, you're always seeking to learn more and do more. And look, I will just say this, Carl. Like you deserve to do nothing, be good at doing nothing. Because I'll tell you right now, for those that don't know, Carl's an incredible percussion player on stage. But for those that don't know, when we're home and we're doing other things, this man is helping build the bus, keeping the bus fresh, making sure we're good, repairing gear for us, finding things at thrift shop. This guy's a thrift shop wizard over here. Finding every little cases. I mean, a cord of this,
we're
just looking for a case for you.
There you go. It's just it's the intangible things, like the work ethic and the things that we have, Carl, that you've provided the band, yourself, your family, and everything else, is incredible in normal times, quote unquote. So now, if you've actually maybe had less to do or you've slowed down a little bit, again, you guys know how I work. I was forced to do nothing. Yeah. And it drove me insane because it's not my DNA. Yeah. But eventually, after 4 months, I accepted that, like, I'm doing this now. Mm-hmm. And then I had to kind of recalculate.
Wait till you get to be my age. And you're like, nothing?
Oh, I'm into that. Yeah. So anyway, I just, don't be hard on yourself. It's not you're lazy. We all know that you're not a lazy person. You're taking the time and you're doing with that time what is best. So, enjoy it because you probably will pick it up as we come out of this. So,
you'll be loading gear more than us on loading.
You inspire me.
I miss loading gear, man. Actually.
Hey, you guys just want to get together and lift some heavy shit?
Yeah,
let's do it.
In and out.
Moving up and down treacherous stairways.
Yeah.
Kenny and I were talking last night about how like we need to make a workout program that's just about
Yeah.
like
Now lift, now drop,
Yeah.
now roll.
Activate the glutes and
From the legs.
Yeah.
Don't
yeah.
use it.
Lift with the back and twist.
But yes.
oh my god, no kidding.
Love you, brother.
Well, sadly for me, this year I lost my mother. So that was it took up a lot of my emotional time this year. I found out that I loved her a lot more than I
You
thought
guys
I
were
did.
very close. You guys were very
I
close.
loved her a lot. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
I can't imagine.
she didn't die from COVID, but COVID made it impossible for me to go see her until the very end, and that was very confusing for her. So that was hard all the way around.
Yeah.
But other than that, I have a very supportive partner, and she's willing to be there for me through all of this,
Yeah.
including all of this.
Oh, bless up.
You guys met my mom. She came to a couple
Yep.
shows.
She's
Uh-huh.
so sweet.
She's a
Such a
sweetheart.
sweetheart. I remember a couple like FaceTime calls with her over your shoulder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's the sweetest.
Yeah,
was
and we've
bright light.
said it a couple times, but we say it all the time. I mean, for 10 years we've been, Mama's Boys band for sure.
Mama's Boys for sure.
But our family has been incredible, and our parents up and down the line have been so supportive to support what we do, and quite literally on a number of circumstances we wouldn't be able to have done much of what we do without the support of them. So shouts out to the partners and the parents.
Can that be our bluegrass side project? Is
Partners
the
and
Mama's
parents?
Boys?
The Mama's
Oh,
Boys.
yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and shout out to our family tree because there's tons of people who
Absolutely.
miss us and we miss them dearly. It's
Right.
like the people that we would see once or twice a year because we would go and they would like welcome us into their homes.
It's almost like we would book the show just to be able to hang out
Yeah.
So
with.
it's kind of crazy. Like we
Yeah.
haven't seen these people. Like maybe a few texts here and there with our dear friends, but like, yeah. So love to all the fans and everyone who's family.
We
and
can't wait to
just
see
helps
you
us.
Man, we're coming slowly but surely. And on that note, and we'll move on here in just a second, but
Yeah.
I want to take one more note and not necessarily single anybody out or mention anybody, but we've also lost a handful of members, unfortunately, within our extended family tree around the country during this time as well. Immediate family members, extended family members, big time fans, people that have helped us put a roof over our head and put a show together, fed us. There's just so many things that people do for us on the road, which make it possible for us to do what we do. Again, I just want to, send that extra love to them and their people. And as Carl mentioned, it's been very difficult because you hear about something and all we want to do is this, something went down and all we want to do is hop in the bus and head out there and give love and hugs and memorials and play services and things. And unfortunately, in the last year and a half, it just hasn't been an option for us. So extended, love and blessings, and we'll be out those ways as soon as possible and get back together again. But just taking a moment for anybody that's been through extra hardship on top of everything that everybody's literally dealt with. We've all literally dealt with something, but there's been extended circumstances on top of everything else there. So just want to put some light on that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Bones?
Yo, yeah, I guess like the thing that changed for me the most, I'm actually pretty thankful for, which is going to sound really weird, is I guess it should be started with, like, Mikey and I are the youngest people in this group. And when Soul Seed started playing, we were like, I was 19, you were 18. I think we started
Good
like
times.
playing in bars, like being underage
Those
playing in
were
bars.
the
And that's
days.
legal. Like there's nothing wrong, but it's like that's what we were doing. Yeah. And it's like, so for me, for the bulk amount of time playing with Soul Seed, I was either playing music full time and making my money doing that, or like going to school and like being supported through that. And so like throughout those years, and then between all that, like we live in Oregon, we were like, there's plenty of side hustles. You can trim weed or like do whatever you want. There's like different ways to make money besides holding down a 9-to-5. And then once COVID happened and all music stopped, and then school like wasn't even really as much of like a feasible option. For the first time in my life, being like a 30-year-old individual, I like stepped into like working a 9-to-5 job, and at first, I want to say thank you to Anna and Sugar Top Buttery because of any job to step into, like I work with cannabis, I roll joints in production, and so it's like I'm thankful that to step into a job, that's what I stepped into because I love cannabis and I love working with it. So overall, like super awesome. And then like stepping into that was crazy because playing music all the time, your life is like chaotic. There's no consistency.
Yeah, no routine,
There's no like guaranteed check in 2 weeks. Like and then when you do get paid, it's a different amount every single time. So there's certain parts of the year where
Sometimes
you're like
it's nothing.
you're living it up and you're like, I got all this money, like everything's fine. There's other parts of the year where like I'm eating like cup of noodles, paying rent, like, you know, and the up and down of that is a joy within itself, you know, like that's what makes that lifestyle so much fun. But it's also like exhausting, and so it was weird to step into a 9-to-5 but be like stoked about it in a way, because I was like, man, like it's a consistency that I never experienced in my life. Of like having a routine. My life has been so, me as an individual, I'm so anti-routine to the point where it's probably like not the greatest overall. But to step into that was at first like really refreshing, and I actually like really enjoyed it. And then, you know, it like everything else, routine becomes routine.
Like, screw this
and then I'm
routine,
sitting there, I'm like,
out of here.
I miss eating gas station food and sleeping on couches and touring around all the time. But for me, that was like a huge learning experience to step into this. Basically, like living a different lifestyle, whole different life. And it was a huge learning experience for me and allowed me to progress in ways that like I hadn't in a long time, like feel like a fucking adult. You know, it's like really wild. So that was like a really odd thing to jump into in my life, and then like to think now, like trying to figure out how I will continue playing music without necessarily like going full dive like head first into just like not, you know, like I'm still gonna continue having a job and like balance those two lives, and that's going to be once again like another step in a new direction of you know, having to figure out how to balance those things. But as far as like something new that I took out of like and stepping into COVID, like that was the biggest thing for me, is stepping into that lifestyle and being honestly like oddly stoked about it at first. Like routine is good, like getting paid every 2 weeks is pretty nice, and you know, even if it's not as much as you would want, even though like then I'm like, for the first time, like, taxes, like, fuck you. I've never, like, done that, right? So that was really wild, but also, like, you got to be thankful for those new experiences, because regardless of what they are, like, it will impact you in positive and negative ways, and then you move on through life and you figure out what to do with that. Yeah. And I think that was, like, really awesome for me to experience, which sounds really weird saying as a 30-year-old, because I feel like most people, you know, that's what they've done for a long time, and for me to step into that new and fresh was a huge eye-opener for me, and like really it taught me a lot, but at the same time at this point I would still just like jump like dive right back into music, you know. It's just like it's what I love to do, but also, you know, it's hard to live that lifestyle for so long without any sort of you live in an existence where everything could fall apart, like that, and that's like such a wild like, way to live for a decade, you know. Like, it's crazy, man.
And like you said, it's like when you have that kind of feast or famine, it's such a you feel like you're experiencing so much, right? It's like, and you are like there's so much that's happening, and it's, you know, a lot of the things that make people feel fulfilled are that it's not always being good. It's like having hard times, and then
and then it makes you so much more stoked for the good times. You know? And it's like I remember when we did our first massive tour, and I remember I think we were in Texas, and I paid rent, and I had zero money, and like I remember like sitting in this parking lot and seriously second guessing.
We had some hard times.
Most of my life decisions in that moment. I remember that day.
I remember that was
like
as well.
The only time I've ever drank like in a like a super negative.
Like a fucking drunk.
Exactly,
dude.
We bought a bottle of tequila, and we're all just like, well, shit, like we're halfway through the tour. We're spending more money on crap food and places to stay than we're making. Like, are we even gonna come back to that? Yeah, that was the lowest of the low.
Man.
It's crazy.
But then there's so many beautiful experiences. I mean, I I remember that, and I look back and I don't go like, oh, I kind of laugh at it, and then I think of all the other stuff surrounding that.
What a journey.
But we that was a few years ago now. We bounced up significantly from that. But I think that gives perspective on us and the viewers and listeners and supporters of us, where like you show up to a show for the most part. You show up to a show, we're there, we come out, we play a set, we're done, catch the merch table maybe, and that's it. It's all these other things that like are future episodes, of course, because we have all these stories that we're looking forward to sharing with you all. But Kenny, that's crazy.
We all remember that day.
I remember that day.
Oh,
that day
absolutely
was the biggest gut check Soul Seed's ever had as a band. We literally, we were literally sitting mid-tour.
We were at a bank.
Yeah, we were.
Parking lot.
And I remember us all literally sitting.
Too, and we were all just like hot and sticky.
Yeah, we were in the South.
We were all sitting just kind of contemplating like
farthest we've ever been from
should
home.
we just go home?
Yeah.
Should we cancel the tour? I think we're heading out probably south of Florida, whatever it was. But should we just cancel the shows because we can't afford to drive there, and just head home, or should we risk it and go and do it? And
we made it work.
We made
Was
it
that
work.
the same tour we did Sugar Shack the first time? Or
It might have been. I have to go check
And
the
even
notes,
remember
but maybe.
Pensacola when the bus
Blew up.
It was
over
like
air,
one thing after another.
Dude,
Yeah.
So and
We have a billion
We've
stories
definitely
to
been
share.
our support group, like whoever, like we've always looked out for each other. We've had some seriously close calls. We've had some dangerous moments. We've had some like broke moments. And I'm very thankful for each of you because we keep each other sane, we keep each other safe, like in heart. Like we've had some low moments and we've brought each other together and out of it. And so I mean,
We're
a
family.
lot of groups,
it's real.
yeah,
Like,
a lot of groups would crumble in that moment, and like we definitely were able to.
I feel very blessed for us finding each other and that.
Again, we'll
we
share
don't
these
get each
stories.
other's
But I
thoughts.
remember when the bus crashed, and that was a huge moment for us where it was a close call. It was really scary. And we were like standing in the rain off the side of the highway, and the bus was completely destroyed. Our whole reality was like checked in that moment, and we like
We're giggling
once we
about it.
once we realized that everyone was okay, we were like, there was a point where we were almost laughing and holding each other, and like gave again that perspective of what's truly important.
Yeah, that we're all okay. We're all still here.
Yeah. So
shout out to Rick Madams for picking us up.
Yeah,
Yes,
like 3 in the morning.
absolutely.
Yeah, so we've had some close calls and some serious moments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments was the Steve Marley show where the electricity went out.
Yeah.
And instead of just giving up, you guys just like, let's do this acoustic. Let's get out in the audience.
Acapella.
And just give them country fair style.
Yeah.
And just bring the vibe out there to the people
And it
until
worked.
this gets fixed. And you know what? That was a
magical.
blessing. That was so amazing.
I feel like those are some of the most defining moments in life, where it's like when life throws you these hard things.
Lemons.
Yeah, like it's so much about how do you react to it, right? Because things just happen. I mean, we can all have our own opinions about if there's some decision, whatever. If there's something making things happen, but regardless, things happen, and it's how you respond to them that defines.
You guys showed
That's
your
a
hearts
positive
that day.
memory
How you
for us now,
responded to
right?
that
Yeah,
showed your hearts to everyone there.
yeah,
I've always rolled with the bunches.
yeah.
For anyone who wants clarification, it was in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We were direct support for Stephen Marley. The huge diesel generator that they had brought in was having some strange issues and power surging, and so we lost power about
Like first song,
second song into our set.
Yeah.
And then there was that kind of 15-20 minute period where we were like, let's wait until it comes back on. They'll get it fixed in a moment. Just hang tight.
We even
it wasn't getting
the
fixed.
opener's acoustic guitar. We grabbed
we
bongos
pulled
off of Carl's set.
we got off stage. We pooled all these acoustic instruments and just did
danced
like a horn line style out to the front of the crowd, and everyone surrounded around us, and we sang Marley songs, and it was one of the most magical moments
And
in our
then
memories.
he went up on stage and played acoustic, which they had never done. That wasn't the plan. And then I think their next tour, they did an acoustic tour because they're like, wow, that was
Because
that
they
being
saw
so
how
special.
incredible it worked.
Yeah, like the audience was like, whoa, this is special. And so it's crazy how things kind of transpire.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That was a good one.
We got a lot to share.
Yeah.
A lot to share in future
Yeah,
episodes.
Benny, what have you done this last year and a half?
It definitely gave me some time to focus on massage school, so that was nice. I just finished up my last term, and I'm studying for the MBLEX now.
Boom.
Thank you.
Boom, boom.
I'll be licensed to touch.
Hey!
There you go.
That's what it is. It's a
Wait, you need a license
to
for that?
I'm not above board.
Consent is sexy.
of course, always, yeah. It was a wild ride. Another big shout out to my partner, Courtney. She was, she had a wild ride herself. We were forced into quarantine together. She had left her apartment, got rid of her belongings, had tickets to Southeast Asia bought, and she was going to travel for like 6 months, and then,
Nope.
you know what? And so we were kind of forced into quarantine together, which was, at the time, I had a lot of resistance to, because I was a bachelor musician. I just don't do my own thing. I'm doing my own thing. But then it really ended up being the most beautiful blessing, because her and I were able to forge a deep relationship that has been so instrumental in my growth, the most growth I've ever experienced in a period of time in my entire life. And so I am so thankful for you, Courtney, if you're listening, when you're listening. And I went through some health issues, like I mentioned earlier, right when almost like clockwork, as soon as it was kind of like we stopped touring, it hit me. And it was, to really just overview it, it was a bunch of endocrine dysfunction issues, sleep disturbances. Like I was up 4 or 5 hours a night for a year straight. And that was, that took a toll on my psyche and my body, and I experienced depression and anxiety and social disorders for the first time in my life. And it was really like the dark night of my soul, my dark night of the soul.
You've been reading books, I can tell as well.
Yeah. And a lot of book reading at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
It was a lot of book reading. There's nothing else to do, man.
Yeah.
That had me dive really deeply into my health. And it looks like we've probably found like the root cause of like mold toxicity is very likely the root cause.
Go
of it.
Eugene.
Makes
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Shout out to every moldy house I've lived in the Willamette Valley. That was just that was a journey. And Courtney was by my side the whole time, and I came out the other side better for it.
Yeah.
Way better for it. Yeah. So
Another blessing in disguise.
another blessing in disguise. I think I spent the entire winter snowboarding. So
Yeah,
that was really nice. I was a mountain rat for that whole time. But I got into backcountry a little bit, so that was just getting as far away from just the world as possible and into the wilderness.
Just go out into the woods.
And it was amazing. So I've been doing a lot of just again, the identity thing. I think we all went through that in different ways, but just getting comfortable with myself and really who I am.
Yeah.
And now, we can take that into a new kind of like a new chapter altogether.
I guess you could say we were all finding out that there's a little bit more than music to our lives.
Yeah. So it was, and I feel like collectively there was a big, I think on a micro scale, on a micro scale and a macro scale, we all kind of collectively and individually experienced our own like dark night of the soul. And I mean, a lot of stuff with family came up for me too. Like discovering and shining lights on and uncovering like deep shadows that I never even knew I had. Deep shadows within my family that I never recognized. And confronting those and working through those and surrendering to them and releasing them. And so there's a lot of really powerful, potent stuff that happened over the time. Super necessary.
And again, I think it all kind of trickles back to if quarantine and everything didn't happen, I'm going to say there's like a very, very low % chance that any of us would have recognized any of this stuff. It gave us the time, albeit kind of a slap in the face, a little bit. But again, I think healthy, and especially with physical health, all of our mental health, everybody having moments to recollect ourselves and see what's actually important and spend more time with family because we don't have friends for 2 years. I think that was so important. So I'm glad that you had that time and
And
acknowledgement.
and to touch a little bit on what Kenny was saying, how to incorporate our lives now into Soul Seed going forward, like how do we do that? And that's really the beautiful thing that can come out of this is how do we move forward as a band, still delivering and connecting the way that we want to while making it sustainable.
Yeah.
And more sustainable for ourselves individually, for our families, for our loved ones, for our bodies, our minds. And how can we do this in a similar manner, but it's more sustainable? And we've been talking about that, and we've got stuff in the works, and it's looking good. Because there was a moment there where I was like, oh, is Soul Seed over?
Yeah, we're done.
We're done.
Yeah.
Soul Seed, yeah.
Yeah, that's scary.
Well, it was done.
Yeah.
It was done, yeah, for a minute.
For a year plus, it was just like, what are we going to do?
Just on pause.
So much uncertainty.
You can only do so many Facebook Lives.
Well, and
it was just
again,
like-
shout out to bands who kept it together because there were bands who every
and
week were doing
evolved. A lot of
lives,
bands
and-
have evolved tremendously.
Oh, yeah.
during
We
this
definitely
time.
did take a step back, but I do foresee that it's making us stronger individuals and that come together with this new light and new inspiration.
Yeah.
It's most dark before the light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Love
Love
shines
shines
through the
through
night.
the night.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, let's.
before we wrap up, we've all had some time to listen to everybody. Does anyone have any final thoughts or comments or something you might want to?
Just that I am super excited that we have music in the works.
Oh man, it felt good today.
Yeah, it felt so good.
New music.
New music. I listened to our 3 albums driving down from Tacoma, and that was such a surreal experience. It's been a while since I've heard them, and it was really cool to hear our journey through all our different phases. And it's crazy realizing it's been 4 years since we released our last album.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we have. We got some songs we're working on, and I'm really excited to release something and to like we were talking about earlier, taking the experiences that we've had in these last years. I mean, personally, and so much has happened in the world beyond COVID too, right? There's been so many things that have existed in this country, for such a long time that rose to the surface again. And,
Those shadows.
yeah,
Coming to
exactly,
light.
exactly, yeah. And so I look forward to addressing those things and just lending our perspective and our music and getting new stuff out to people. So
Yeah, I mean, not to give too much of a spoiler, but we had an album's worth of music that we had written and kind of started recording right before all this happened. And at the beginning, we were really trying to still work on it and get it ready to release, but we learned very quickly that distanced recording is very difficult. Not impossible, but very difficult. And so we've been able to kind of gain a new game plan on how that looks and how to do that. And I think, we're always writing and are excited to write more, but also excited to work on these songs that are a year old that haven't even been fostered.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
keep your ears out and keep paying attention to Soul Seed.
like that. They're our kids.
just like bananas.
Anything else, boys?
I got nothing.
I love you guys.
You have
I'm
so much
grateful. I
much.
love you all. I love
Yeah,
Kevin.
we
I want to reiterate something that I said yesterday when we first got together. Regardless of how we came through this, regardless of the protocols that we enlisted in our lives, to get through this, we all got through this. And we're so blessed. Here we are.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
job.
I feel very
Good job, everyone.
grateful.
Bomb.
Love you guys.
Bomb. Hey.
And coming soon to a stage or park.
Yeah,
near
most
you.
likely an outdoor venue near you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we do have a handful of announcements. Again, we'll be trickling those out over the next couple of months. Again, we will not be playing shows until the end of summer. We've gotten lots of DMs, lots of emails, and I handle most of those. But I will speak for the band. We appreciate the reach outs, the offers to play. Trust me, if we could have played all of the backyard parties and the social gatherings and everything that we've been offered over this last couple of months and really a year and a half, it's been incredible. The support people have had to try to hire us, to help us out, and we appreciate all that, for real, for real. We haven't taken anybody up on it. So if you have reached out, don't feel like you were singled out because we denied you. We denied everybody, unfortunately, because of circumstances. However, we're turning the page. Today was a huge step for us with music, getting kind of a new, vibrant, I'm kind of shaking a little bit. I'm pretty fired up on just the show, seeing you guys jamming, getting the blood flowing again. So keep an eye out for song announcements. and also maybe some new stuff when you come and see us live, but also show announcement coming up as well. And make sure you please share this podcast, the audio, the video, with your friends and your family. We are really trying to get this out to as many people in the family tree as possible. And, you can help us the most by just sharing it, giving a like and hitting the bell and subscribing and everything else and following along. So we appreciate you. And if you do want to reach out to get us together for a show, or you're in touch with some sort of outdoor event in your area locally throughout the summer and the fall, please feel free to do that, and we'll get back to you. But until next time, it's been a blessing to hang out with you. We have a bunch more episodes coming up. We'll catch you next time on More Than Music.
What's up?
Peace. Thanks for tuning into the More Than Music podcast. We appreciate it if you'd leave us an honest rating and review wherever you're listening to the podcast. And please also subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all social media platforms at Soulseed Music. That's at SOLSEED Music. For those that leave a 5-star rating and review, be sure to listen for your comments to be read on a future episode. Stay tuned for our next episode, and feel free to share this podcast with a friend or a family member, and let's expand the branches of our family tree. We appreciate you vibing with us today, and we'll catch you next time on More Than Music.